Great Torah.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Meeting is now streaming live. Yes, hello, all of you out there in live streaming land. We love you and hope that you'll, stay with us. We'd love to be in touch with you. Effie.
Yes, this hurts me very much to say this, but I sent an article to the rabbi, and he already knew the person who had read who wrote the article. Yes. But I wanted to say, and I even wanted to say it last week.
Sit down.
I don't agree with the article, and I don't agree with the rabbi when he talks about God not writing the Bible. However, I must say that once we start the Bible discussion, he talks as if the Bible was written by God. So I just wanted to thank him for that. It hurts me to say this, but I have to say it.
Wait a second. Is the hurt because you're almost complimenting me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I just wanted to get that straight. Okay. And it hurts me even more to say thank you. So, okay, cool.
Where you want it? Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Actually, Effie,
Gave me sugar without a spoon, so I can't stir.
You're pointing to something really, really, really fundamental to what we're doing here. This is not a course on Bible criticism. We are reading the Torah from one end to the other. And when you do that, you enter the world of the Torah. You don't stand outside and examine it. That's all I have to say about that. And I certainly agree that when I enter swimming gesture, when I enter the world of Torah, I'm interested in what the Torah is saying. And okay, fine. So you caught me. January 27th was International Holocaust Remembrance Day. We all know that. What I picked up this morning, you may not yet have seen it, is that the major transportation center in Washington, D.C., whatever it's called, the Washington whatever, where all the big trains come in and everyone goes in and goes out, was decorated with over 50 swastikas over the last 24 hours.
Oh my God.
But thankfully, we have nothing to worry about because the police immediate response was a deranged, unhoused person. We don't know who it is, but they've already taken care of it as not being a hate crime. It's whatever, okay? So that's disturbing. The swastikas were up for a long time. Thousands and thousands of people saw them. They were on major pillars all over the major entranceway. January 27th was chosen because it's always weird. That's the date, January 27th, of the entrance of the Soviet Union's Red Army into Auschwitz. So the date chosen by the United Nations is the date commemorating the Soviet Union's liberation of Auschwitz. Talk about leaving me with strange feelings. But it's interesting to note that that's where the date came from in 2005. Does the name Dara Horn, H-O-R-N, mean something to some of you? I would never say to you, boy, you ought to read a book or something. But Dara Horn wrote a book entitled People Love Dead Jews. The reason I hate Dara Horn is that for the past 30 years, I have been crossing the world in a variety of places, visiting formal visits to governments all across Europe, especially. And I became aware of how many memorials there are to dead Jews. And I started commenting on it, saying, boy, it's easier to put up a memorial to dead Jews than it is to change society so that not more Jews are killed. And then Darahorn goes ahead and writes the book and gets all the credit. And so I'm quite jealous. But in any event, if you have a chance to read Darahorn's book, People Love Dead Jews, it's really trending hot in the Jewish community today. Loads of people are reading it. It's a topic of a lot of conversation. So, enough on that. Carrie, Ray, whoever is raising.
Yes, that was me. She's being interviewed next week online at Stephen S. Wise Temple. I think it's February 3rd.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I'm not telling you it's, war and peace. It's not a great thing, but it's a book that really opens up a very important conversation. Okay, all right. Just to mention again, obviously, current events course, Wednesday, February 2nd, noon to 1 p.m. We had a lovely turnout first time for the program. And I'm happy to tell you that there is endless material to discuss about what's going on in the Jewish world, both in Israel and in the United States. We're living in a hell of an interesting time, and I will stick with the hell of a as well as interesting time. It's very, very, very difficult. I look forward to being with you Wednesday, February 2nd, noon to 1 p.m. Calendar, I see Jim Ruxin. He's smiling at me. Hannah Gold says we had Darahorn speak on a Zoom. I didn't see the rest of it. November 2021. Here is the recording if anyone is interested. Thank you. So you can just go to that link. Okay, Jim.
Tonight we're going to discuss Being the Ricardos, written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, who did Chicago 7 and numerous very successful television shows. It's a remarkable film. It takes place in 1 week in the life of Lucille Ball and her husband Desi Arnaz, when it was revealed that Lucy, the biggest female star in the United States at the time, voted in a communist election once, joined the party, because her father was a communist booster. And that's the last she had to do with the Communist Party. But during the Red Scare, this was very volatile. And it threatened her career, it threatened the show, which was one of the top shows on television. And together, she and her husband, Desi, who was like the quiet guy behind the scenes, really ran the show and figured out a way to avoid censure and move the show forward. She also, when she was pregnant with their first child, was the first woman on television to show herself as pregnant, which the networks fought. So there are many themes going through this, which is women's rights, political free speech, our toxic media that is quick to jump on things without really knowing them. It's so relevant to today. I hope you can watch it. If not today and join the discussion, watch it on your own because it will speak to you. The two actors are Nicole Kidman as Lucy and Javier Bardem, they're both fabulous in the roles. They inhabit these people's lives. Don't compare Nicole Kidman to Lucy. She's not as goofy, even when she's playing Lucy. But the likeness doesn't matter. The point is the issues, the feelings, the conflicts are all the same. Tonight, 7:30.
7:30. Thank you very much for that. And Jim, thank you for the miracle you've pulled off. You only waited 10 years to make this kind of a program widely available and widely respected. So thank you for hanging in there. It's doing great. And thank you for keeping Risa occupied.
I do a lot of babysitting on Saturday nights.
Yeah, I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I want to point out, I have mentioned this to you before, and I know it's a bit of an obsession. Risa and I watch Jews United for Democracy and Justice, abbreviated JUDJ, programming every Wednesday at 5 p.m. It's sacred time. They have had, over the past 18 months, the most current, important people to talk to us about the real world, the very best people. And we were there watching when there was, 500 or 1,000. This past week, there were 5,300 people online watching the program. It is astonishingly relevant, current. I get nothing out of this at all, except it's so good. This week, February 2nd, after my current events course, at 5 p.m., the director of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, is going to be the speaker. Is it worth attending? I would say absolutely yes. And what's the cost? $0. And it's absolutely free. JUDJ, enough on that. Not enough. It's really a good program. I want to point out that I have not been invited to compete in the Winter Olympics. Nevertheless, they are taking place. And you want to be aware of that. And February 13th, please do not plan to call me after 2 o'clock in the afternoon until the end of all the Super Bowl festivities. Okay, so the February 13th is going to be a blackout time for my communications with the world. Okay, I'm happy. Look who's here. Look at everybody. I see Cindy. Okay.
Yes. So Sisterhood is doing our meetings by Zoom. We meet the first Wednesday of the month. We end in time for the current events class. This week, we are having Doug Lynn is going to come in at 10:30 to talk about the renovations. Hopefully we'll bring pictures, explain what's going to go on. Everybody is welcome to come in at 10:30. If you're not on the board, I regularly attend meetings. If you were a Sisterhood member in 2020, you would have received the link yesterday. If you are not or lost the link, if you email me at wbtsisterhood@wbtla.org, I'll send you the link because I know we all want to know what's going on. We know the temple will be shut down for a year. They're doing major renovations. It's going to be magnificent when they're done, but there are going to be some, we'll have to have another year of Zoom and being at Irma's campus. So 10:30 this Wednesday, if you want to know the details about the renovations.
Okay, and
Thank you.
I don't make these things personal, Cindy, you know that, but I've known Doug Lynn since he was like 14 years old.
Yeah, he has like 10 jobs at the synagogue.
Yeah, his father was an active leader at Central Synagogue, and I knew Doug as a kid, and seeing him work around Wilshire with his ponytail and all his responsibilities, it makes me feel really old. But in any event, Doug's a great guy and well worth it because we want to know what's going on. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat. So if you just email me, if you don't have the link, 10:30 this Wednesday, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It will not be in the bulletin.
JUDJ is, you can Google it, Jews United for Democracy and Justice, and everyone gets in. They're very happy. It's a funded, they go out and they raise money, and that's how it happens. That's how they're able to get these speakers. Okay, last point. How is everybody? Anything new? Checking in. I hope health-wise, there are no issues, but are there any things, questions, family matters, happy promotions, new books published, anything at all? Okay, nothing. All right, it's a quiet week. Fine. Now, we're going to go to Exodus chapter 22, verse 17, 22:17. In the New Plout, 518. In the Women of Reformed Judaism commentary, page 437. 437 Women's Commentary, 518 in the New Plout. And we look at this wonderful verse 17. Now we're in the Sedra called Mishpatim, and it is the one that follows last week's 10 commandments, right? And the commandments, you're flying high. You got the 10 commandments, the 10 statements, Aserta Dibrot. Everything is wonderful. Oh my God, Mount Sinai's quaking, fire, earthquake, lightning, everything, loud voices, people in shock. Next week, this week, a whole list of all the small details that are necessary to make the 10 commandments work. It's like, what was it, the statement? Why can't we all like each other or something?
Get along.
Why can't we all get along? It's great to be able to say, oh, I'm into get along, or love your neighbor as yourself. Yes, I do. I love my neighbor as myself. I mostly love myself. Now, then you get into the reality that you got to have the details. What's in it? What's going to happen? And this chapter is chock full of interesting details. So in 22:17, it says, you shall not tolerate a sorceress. Or another way to translate sorceress, witch. I grew up in a mostly English-speaking environment, except when I was with my aunts and uncles. My grandmother, unfortunately, only to when I was 8 years old. It became a Yiddish-speaking environment. And I learned the word machashefa. A machashefa is a witch. And instead of calling someone with the bitch designation, in those days, witch, machashefa. Take a look at her ponim, look at her face, a machashefa, a witch. And that's the word, by the way, which is used right here in the text. It translates it as sorceress. And I don't know why, putting it into sorceress covers up the fact that it really means witch. It's they're talking about not to let a witch continue. Donna, please.
It doesn't. I don't think it says tolerate. It says you shall not allow her to live.
Yeah, that's down here too.
Okay.
You are totally correct.
Just saying.
Absolutely. And I'm going to quickly shift to Natalie before I move on. You had your hand up, Natalie. You defer to Donna. Oh, that's so nice. That's good. Okay, so witches. Risa grew up in Boston. They all know about Salem. Witches have been a factor in life, maybe forever. People who acquire magical powers in order to commit evil acts. Okay, unless you were on television and you could wrinkle your nose and make magic things happen. But witches, warlock is the term usually used to refer to men witches, but men witches don't have the cachet that women witches do. I would like now, please remember I am quoting, okay? I am quoting. This is not Stanley talking. This is quoting. In 1487, a man by the name of Heinrich Kramer wrote something called Malius Maleficarum, and 1487. And he had this lovely description. Women were chiefly addicted to evil superstitions. And he went on to blame women for their greed, their credulous nature, their feeble mind and body, their slippery tongue, their jealous nature, and their inherently evil disposition, which gives women a tendency to be machashefot, witches. Now, close quote, that wasn't Stanley. That was just, 1487. It was just one of those things. Women were primarily considered to be those with active contact to the evil side of life. And it's kind of funny. I guess it wasn't if you get burned at the stake, but it's kind of funny that women were viewed, I think always, I don't know always, as dangerous, very dangerous. They create new life, they have blood, and who knows what they do when they meet together. Is it a coffee klatch or a coven? You just never know. What's interesting here is the translation that Donna pointed out very accurately. The Hebrew says, Machashefa lo techayeh. Techayeh, the word chayim. Don't allow a witch to live. It doesn't say don't tolerate. Can you imagine coming to a meeting of interfaith something or other, and someone is speaking about toleration, and then you think, well, in this translation, that means you don't want to kill us. No, Tichayeh clearly states, don't allow a witch to live, put it into the positive, kill witches. Kill witches. Okay, Steve, you had your hand up. Oh, Mona had her hand up.
It was actually neat. I just wanted to ask if there was any tradition in Judaism of good witches or white witches, because certainly in England, where there was a belief in witches for hundreds and hundreds of years, there were good witches who would heal you, had a strong knowledge of herbs, would give you medicine to cure whatever was ailing you. So I was just curious if that ever existed within the Jewish tradition.
I am unable to answer the question. Steve, stop it. I really am not. I have not heard. I don't recall. You can't push a button and get me to spout knowingly. I don't know. Tamara?
Yeah, I don't know either in Judaism, but in the Bible itself, there is a story in 1 Samuel 28 of the woman who's called Balat Ov, sometimes translated as a witch, but she's a necromancer, and she brings dead Samuel to life. And the Bible portrays her very positively as a powerful woman who cares for a person in despair and who is able to bring people from the dead. So she has this magical thing, and she's not in the Bible condemned. Later interpreters condemn her, but the Bible presents her positively. So that's the closest I can think of a good witch.
Well, thank you. I feel better for that. The witch in that particular section is the witch of Endor. The witch of Endor. If you would hear the name Endora, what would you think? Endora, Donna?
Well, that's the name of Samantha's mother on Bewitched, but it comes from the Witch of Endor, which is what Tamara was talking about.
Exactly. So the Witch of Endor from the Bible ends up with a good television role. And Endora is sort of in American culture as a woman's name who is a witch, may not be an evil witch, but is a witch. So it's really interesting. There was a King Saul wanted to find out what's going to happen to him in a battle that was going to take place the next day. He wanted to get his information from his old mentor and nemesis, Samuel. Samuel had the temerity to have been dead by then. And it says, and there is an irony here, that Saul went looking for a witch. Why was he having trouble going to find a witch? Because he had driven the witches out of the kingdom. He had forbidden them according to Jewish tradition, and they were dead and killed, and they were gone, and that was it. No more witches. And that's fine until you need a witch. And so then it's kind of ironic. He then finds the witch of Endor, and she brings Samuel into contact in some way with Saul. Samuel, happy to be able to be communicating with earthly beings again, says to Saul, good news, tomorrow you're going to be killed. So it's really, it didn't bring a lot of joy to Saul's search.
Rabbi?
I'm sorry, who, where? Oh, Brad?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know if these are witches, exactly what you would call them, but women with with powers, so to speak, are looked on very favorably. For example, in ancient Greece, for example, it was the priestesses, or whatever you want to call them, at Delphi, for example, who were the intermediaries between God and humans. So that was a very positive spin on women who had supernatural or unusual talents.
Yeah, the rabbis would later try to figure out who the witch of Endor was, and how a obviously a thing forbidden in the Torah could actually work. I mean, how does that happen? And one of the interesting things is that some of them described her as a ventriloquist, that she made clouds appear to be talking, and through her voice, who knows? But you're absolutely correct. Part of the story of the witch is the presence of powerful women, which was very frightening and yet very well recognized. And today, in today's world, and I'm certainly not a scholar to talk about this, there are women and women's groups who have embraced or re-embraced the term witch and speak of themselves as empowered and use the descriptive witch. They take it, the white witch, they take it to mean we are powerful people, and we take this ancient fear or celebration and make it our own. It's a fascinating window on the role of women in society. You're certainly right about the Delphic oracle, but other circumstances as well. Others as well. People seem to have trouble figuring out, what do you do with powerful, effective, charismatic women? What do you do? That's not the way it's meant to be. And so the women are disparaged or self-empowered. Rashi asked the question, Techayeh. Does that mean we are all free to go out, like in Texas with the abortion business? We're all free to go out and take justice into our own hands. You meet someone who might be a witch, you kill that person. No, Rashi says, you had to go to a court, you got to go through a court system. Let me pose a question. Why do people want there to be witches and oracles and so forth. Why? Why? Why, Jim?
Well, I think it gives people a sense of certainty, even if it's a fiction, that they have some control over the future and the forces acting on them because somebody's describing that. It's an invention, but it's comforting.
Why did you put Christian cinema down in the chat?
When we talk about witches and people who connect to the dark side.
Okay, I'm not going there. Fine.
No, you don't have to. Somebody had to, though.
Somebody had to. What is it we need, we human beings? Why are oracles? By the way, what's his name? Buffett, Warren Buffett. How is he referred to? You know who Warren Buffett is?
The Oracle of Omaha or whatever.
Whatever. The Oracle. He is the one who will tell the world what will be. We are desperate to know what's behind the next locked door. And if someone can come forward and say, I know, I can tell you, they're honored, they're needed. And why do people, I don't quite know the skill, but read tea leaves, or they do observation of clouds. They see clouds and they see shapes and they see messages in that. And people want that. People
and they get
to know.
And they get exploited for it sometimes too, because the mentalists control them with that. It's a fundamental weakness that we have that need, and there are questionable people who fill that need and manipulate us against our will, because our need to know is that much stronger than rationality. Sorry.
No, that's part of what happens with news broadcasts too, Jim.
Yeah.
When you have a commentator you respect, and I haven't had that since Huntley and Brinkley and whatever, and Alfred E. Newman, but that's different. But someone who can say, this is what will be happening. People are desperate for that kind of thing. Carrie, I don't know what.
It's me.
Okay.
I think we're fascinated by this kind of thing because it connects this world with another world, and we don't know anything about the other world. And if we can speak with somebody down here that knows about what's up there, that's great.
Comforting.
Yeah, more information.
Yeah, I sometimes, modestly, I have to report, am considered to be someone, by virtue of ordination, someone who has closer contact with God. And people will come up to me, Stan, you talk to God more than I do. What's good? And so I have two choices. One is to deny it, one is to play into it. So I play into it. But people want sources of truth. Women are mysterious, frightening, biologically different, confusing. And therefore they are given a status which at times makes them highly honored and at times make them feared and despised. And that's part of the game. I'm going to leave this except to say I made a mistake. I said that the rabbis later said ventriloquist. I checked my notes, not the rabbis later. In the Septuagint. In the Septuagint, the witch of Endor is referred to as a ventriloquist. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm going to leave this point. Mara, fine. Okay, Mara? Yes.
I just wanted to add, kind of per what I had emailed you, that this verse also establishes once again a difference and a separateness for others that is harmful in our society.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's a point, self-sufficient. Yes. Any other comment before we move on? Okay, I see.
I have a
Susie.
comment. I have a
Susie,
comment. Mike, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you. What's on your hand, Susie? What's on your hand?
You don't want to know. I'm accident prone. In today's world, would fortune tellers and astrologers, would they be considered witches? They're very popular in today's world and cost a lot of money. I mean, you hear about all these famous people that visit their astrologers or they visit their fortune tellers and they look at the tea leaves and all of that.
Wasn't Nancy Reagan? Was that, do I remember that correctly?
Yes.
Nancy
Diana,
Reagan.
Princess Diana flew all over the world to follow her fortune teller. So,
First of all, I absolutely don't believe in it. Second of all, I had my palm read once in India, and the person was so good that I got such a positive read on my lifeline and other things that I have become totally devoted to making that person's forecast true. I want to make it a person. Oh, you have these lines and these lines. I was scrubbing. No, that's not why that's there. You have this and that, and this is what's going to happen to you. The answer, Susie, is yes. I mean, it is part of the same process. We want to know the truth. When the fault lies not in our stars, but in ourselves. What are we saying? You know, there are things out there that control our destiny. And if we only could become aware of it, we would be masters of our destiny. Yeah, we want that.
how many millions of people read their horoscope in the newspaper every single day?
The trick is that those horoscopes are always remembered when they happen to be accurate. So once in 43 times, it says you're going to get hit in the face with a croissant, and it happens. Then, oh my God, these are all true. Well, I don't know. But we do want to know the future. We do. We are desperate. Ray?
Right.
Thank you. I'm going to bring a distinctly secular reading, which is completely my own kind of observation on this. But I think that our seeking oracles and people like soothsayers and oracles and so on come from a natural coping mechanism when we reach enough about the age of reason that the complete trust and belief in the omnipotence and omniscience of our parents starts to prove wanting and no longer true, that I think there's a natural tendency to cope by, well, if it's not our parents, it's got to be something. And we look for some other terrestrial vessel that gives us that certainty and omniscient comfort in being able to confront the unknown. And there are so many paths we may take from this emotional need, certainly not all of them constructive, but I suspect that that's a big engine about how many of us look for these kinds of designated soothsayers in this life.
Thank you. Yes. Looking for the omniscient parent. How old do you have to be before parent loses omniscience? And omnipotence, how old do you have to be?
I think some people go to their graves never having lost that.
Yeah, what do you mean daddy can't fix this? You just blew a hole through a giraffe. What do you mean daddy can't fix this? you don't know, or my parents made a mistake. Yeah, what happens to us when that happens? Okay. Do you know what Urim and Tumim are? Urim and Tumim. Go ahead.
I don't.
Marina, do you want to tell us about Urim and Tumim?
I know they are in the Bible, and they are like a presence in the temple, where they carry. No, I cannot describe. I know what they are, but I cannot describe. I'm sorry.
Okay, I just thought it was the emblem of Yale, but Luxe Veritas, it really is. But Donna?
I think they're devices that are used to basically tell the future. I don't know that they're dice or what they are exactly, but you throw them and that answers questions. It's like a magic 8-ball.
Okay, and it could be dice inside the breastplate of the priest, and they were used to help predict. Oh, what do we have there? What is Chai? Is that a magic 8-ball?
Yes.
It's the Jewish version.
Okay, I love it. Okay.
Gary's always asking questions. I figured, why not? Here are the answers.
Okay, that's cool. So Urim and Tumim is institutionalizing the desire for divination.
But it's okay for a man to do it. We don't like it when women have that kind of power. So we gotta wipe those people out.
Your point being?
You know what my point is.
Okay. It's very interesting. You don't have to shift, but I'm going to move to 1298 for a moment. When you enter the land that the eternal your God is giving you, you shall not learn to imitate the abhorrent practices of those nations. Let no one be found among you who consigns a son or a daughter to fire, or who is an augur, a soothsayer, a diviner, or a sorcerer, one who casts spells, one who consults ghosts or familiar spirits, one who inquires of the dead. Anyone who does such things is abhorrent to God. You must therefore, those nations that you are about to dispossess, do indeed resort to soothsayers and augurs. Don't do it, because God has not assigned the like. In the Hebrew, God hasn't set you up to get that information. So it's in Exodus, it's in Deuteronomy. Come on, folks, what does that tell us? What does that tell us? I see Donna, but okay, Donna, go ahead.
Tells us this was going on all the time.
Yes, thank you. Yep. Yep. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's forbidden. Kill the witches. They're awful. They're terrible. By the way, next door, down the street, there's one in case you need to find out what's going to happen. Yes, thank you very much. Let's go on to the next fun thing. Verse 18, whoever lies with a beast shall be put to death. How did this get in the Torah? Okay, Cindy?
Wasn't there some hanky-panky with a sheep sometimes?
Are you asking me?
Allegedly.
Oh, yes.
It's lonely in the desert.
Oops. Yes, this is quite a day, is it not? Yes, lonely in the desert. I want you to know that the initial comments by the rabbis regarding this passage is Ibn Ezra. They could not be referring to an Israelite. We don't do those things. And, I had this item be written about New Zealand. You might feel differently. They have more sheep than people there. But, okay, it's an agricultural herding economy. Put to death by stoning. You sleep with your sheep, you get stoned to death. Or you get stoned and then you sleep with your sheep. I don't know which comes first. I have to believe it was fairly widespread. The rabbis wanted to make it an ethical issue. Going back on verse 15, a man who seduces a virgin or other places of sexual assault, the rabbis take this verse and make a connection. Even as the woman who is raped outside of a city where no one can hear her is powerless, so is the animal powerless. And we defend the powerless. So anyway, this is what is forbidden. The animal can't cry out for help. But it's here. When you read something like this, you got to have a feeling that they were knowingly trying to transform society, that they were really trying to change human behavior. And they're talking about real things. Are there machashefot? You bet. Are there animal people sleeping with animals? You bet. And what's the story? Change. Under the dominion of God, this is not acceptable. And I find that good. Let's look at 22:19. Whoever sacrifices to a god other than the eternal alone shall be proscribed. What's the Hebrew word for proscribed? I'm not even sure what the English word is. Proscribed. What's the Hebrew word? Anyone know?
Well, my version says Yaharam, but it also says it means destroyed.
It's a very interesting and complicated word, Steve. Yecharam deals with, the source of the word is cherem. Cherem. It is often used even in the modern world as excommunicated, though someone should be excommunicated. In other cultures, that same word appears as harem. Harem. Yecharam is etymologically family to harem. What is a harem? What is a harem? Okay, I do see you, Donna. I mean, you're really on a roll today. Good.
Yes.
Ahead,
Well, a harem is where you set people aside women aside in a, separate room, place that they live. And it's the same thing as when you excommunicate somebody, you separate them from the community.
They're set aside. They are forbidden. They're in an area which, if any other man would go in,
they are otherized. Acher, I don't know if it's all connected or what.
I like it though. They're otherized. I should have said that. Yes, they're otherized. They're cherem. They're put there. What story in the Bible tells us about the existence of a cherem?
Esther.
You got it. The book of Esther. And Esther went to be with the women, and they trained her how to put on the makeup and stuff and be alluring to Ahasuerus. So yeah, harems exist. Harem I know that it's used in different ways in the Bible. Cherem could be booty captured in warfare, and it's forbidden to you. It's cherem. Cherem could also mean put to death. Cherem could also mean otherized. Tamara, do you want to fill in on this?
In some places, it also means dedicated to God. So it's a very confusing term. Something holy is cherem for the rest of us. So the idea is it's other, the othering. It's something for specific cause. But in several cases, not in Exodus, but in Deuteronomy, it clearly means killing or destroying with the sword. So it's hard to know what it means here. Just shun them or kill them.
It's very interesting. The sentence is so short, right? Anyone who sacrifices to Elohim. Talk about confusing words in the Bible. That's a confusing word in the Bible. We all know what Elohim is. No, we don't. Elohim here means, what does it say? A God other than the eternal alone. That's not the way the sentence reads. The sentence doesn't read in that order. The commentator created that meaning. Zoveach Elohim Yecharam. Whoever sacrifices, you have to believe it means somehow to anyone other than God, whatever, false gods, whatever, is going to be cheremized, whatever that means. Bilti Ladonai Levado. The rabbis love the use of levado here. Levado, lavad in modern Hebrew. God and God alone, only, levado. I think it's in the Yigdal too, levado. Levado is a very important word to say, stick with God, only with God. And anyone who sacrifices to other gods is to be cheremized. So Rashi says, Rashi speaking directly to Tamara, Rashi says death penalty. I mean, that's certainly one reading. And Rashi opts for that. But these are the core things. Anyone who sacrifices to a god other than God is to be cheremized. And the word proscribed, believe me, does not give us any sense as to what is being told here. That is a translation without content. Proscribed. We can say, what the hell does that mean? Proscribed. Fine. Okay, Mara.
I have a question. You talk about these multiple meanings. How are those multiple meanings determined? How is it determined that it could mean this, but it could also mean that?
I don't know about how it's determined. Tamara's going to respond. I can only tell you this. That's one of the richness of different commentators, because they take different perspectives and offer different proofs. But Tamara, please.
I was just going to say, when we have a word like that, where we are not sure, we look at all the examples where it is used, and some of them give us a clear meaning. Like if it attaches death explicitly to the word, then we know in that place it means death. If it attaches something else. So you do what we call a semantic range of the word. We want to see how it's used. And with this word, it's used in different ways. So you make your best guess. And I think with Rashi, he's got to be right, simply because the idea of sacrificing to any other god is so ingrained a prohibition that in this text, it's most likely means death. But in another text, it simply means put them aside.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mara, we love to come up with firm, definitive responses, except when firm, definitive responses are not available. And that again points to the problem of taking a text, calling it sacred, and imposing meanings based upon it when we really don't have absolute clarity. And this is one of those examples. We're going to end here, even though there's so much other good stuff. I had so many nice things. Oh, 3 pages left. Let me just tell you that before we go to Kaddish, I got in the elevator in the apartment yesterday, and I'm fully masked and, you know, hooded and plastic shield and wrapped in tin foil and, you know, whatever to go into the elevator. And a guy gets on the elevator. I've never seen him before. He's properly masked, and he's wearing a denim jacket. Very nice denim jacket with a few patches here and there. I assumed he had his motorcycle outside somewhere. And I no longer have clear vision, not by a long shot. And I found my head moving closer to his jacket. I said to him, "That looks like the head of a snake." And he said, "Look carefully, that's his head, and next to him, that's his rattle." I said, "What are you talking about?" He apparently was out in Arizona, encountered a rattlesnake, and thought there would be nothing better than decorating his very male body with a rattlesnake head with fangs, and over here, his rattle. I asked him to stay in the elevator. The door opened, and I fled. So that's my story there. I have never seen that before. We're going to do Kaddish now. And again, please remember that Wednesday we have our current events encounter. And thank you for today. Thank you so much. We mentioned the names of those who have passed away during the past month. Steve Astrakhan, Ron Berman, Susan Brody, Daniel Dworsky, Elaine Edelstein, Beverly Feinstein, Robert Joseph Flicker, Richard Dick, Bernard Halligan, John Harris, Annette Henkin Landau, Alexander Lauterbach, Stephen Leventhal, Yvette Mimia, Joyce Austin, Janice Sarnoff, Ruth Green Stamler, Senel Sun, Marvin Jack Teitelbaum, Steve Tolkien. And Yortzites, anniversaries of whose deaths have occurred during this past week. Lee Arden, Antonio Aguilar, Ronald Arthur Allen, Rose Baker, Ted Bard, Max Bass, Joan Becker, Faye Beecher, Millie Blair, Paul Borenstein, Bernard Irving Bratter, Harold Brooks, Bernard Brown Sr., Harry Kaplan, Georgiana Castle, Rhoda Dane, Jane Deverell, Angelo DeFalco, Louis Ehrenberg, Meredith Elaine Fishman, Stanley Fisher, Helen Franklin, Hyman Franklin, Sidney Galper, Esther Gitlin, Alice Gittleson, Esther Golad, William Golant, Naomi Stats Goldberg, Saul Greenberg, David Gross, Gary Gross, Sadie Gruskin, Herman Harris, Henry Hartman, Margaretta Heald, Robert Henningsen, Josephine Herz, Frank Hoffer, Francis Hurwitz, Robert Kravitz Sr., Paula Klein, Frank Cohn, Raphael Krausen, Mary Kraut, Sarah Kraut, Mildred Leslie Whidson, Fortune Levy Cohn, Anita Lipson, Alvin Malkin, Victor Marshall, Adam Mellinger, Morris Melnick, Seymour Miller, Marvin Morris, Fanny Nagler, Sonia Nadich, Frank Naiman, Gail Pasternak, Monroe Failzer, Sophie Phillips, Hyman Pastel, Chana Rakovitsky, Ed Raskin, Gail Ritro Rosenthal, Eleonora Sapojikova, Sorab Avraham Savis, Harriet Siegler, Judith Sherman Harris, David Siegel, Wilbert Siegel, Larry Slatton, Lena Small, Rosella Smith, Wendy Snyder, Francis Stern, Gary Stern, Aaron Stovitz, Rose Topaz, Shirley Barish Verin, Hyman Uyghur, Bella Wesley, Barbara Lefkowitz Zagowski. I apologize for the names that I have mispronounced. If there are other names to be remembered at this moment, please speak them aloud or carry them in your hearts. We remember as well all those who died in defense of the United States, died in defense of the state of Israel, those who died through acts of violence and terror, and all those who have no one to remember their names. We join together in Kaddish. Yitgadal Kadash Shemei Rabbah V'alma Divra Chirutei V'amlich Malchutei V'chaye Chodev Yomecho V'chaye Dechol Beis Yisrael Ba'gala B'zman Koriv V'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mubarak Le'olam Le'omei Amaya Yitbarach Yishkabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitalel V'yitalal Shemei D'Kutshara Le'elam Birchata V'shirata Tushachata V'nechata Damiran B'alma V'imru. Amen. Yeh Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Oseh Shalom V'romav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Yisrael V'imru.
Amen.
And may God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Folks, thank you very much. A beautiful morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you. Be well. See you Wednesday. Have a great week.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
The Wednesday link is on the synagogue calendar somewhere?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to register.
Yeah,
You have to register.
Ask you to register and then you get the link.
And
Yeah.
you can register from the calendar. There will be a link for that. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, terrific.
Any
Thank you.
trouble, Ray, call me.
Okay, terrific. Thank you for that. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Bye-bye to Hawaii.
Take it easy, Howard.